I don't have any speakers in here.
Can't hear it.
It's all right. I can hear you, though. I mean, I can hear it there.
Huh?
I can hear it through yours. I'm fine. Welcome to Blake Sloan radio show this morning. Awesome stuff going on this week. Even though it was a slow week with holidays, we still got lots going on real estate-wise. We'll talk about the brand new market numbers in from last month. Anybody missed last week's show, we'll talk about those. Talk about the week-over-week numbers, and they're very resilient coming into some slower times in terms of, coming up to Thanksgiving, things like that, where a lot of people who were on the sidelines during the election season have jumped back in. We've still seen that really all the way through the holiday, which is awesome. So we expect to see December very, very similar. We'll talk about that overall, kind of what's going on. We'll talk about interest rates. We did a 1 month low last week, which is awesome. So we're seeing that finally head back in the right direction, down below 7%, which is huge. Also, one thing we'll talk about today, haven't really talked about it much in a while, is a huge scholarship initiative that we're expanding in 2025. We have our own real estate school. We've offered a scholarship for a while for anybody that's a qualified person that wants to join the team, wants to be a part of what we do. And we're really launching that with 10 in January. And so we'll give you some more details about that, how to find out more about that. That's something you want to learn about, maybe explore real estate in 2025. We'll also talk about a lot of stuff. If you're planning on selling in 2025, you want to start preparing now for it. And because you're going to see a lot of things start happening through the holidays, also into January. And we'll talk about how to make your house the top thing on every buyer's wish list this next season. That includes the holiday season, why you may want to think about potentially doing it in the holiday season, and kind of how that shifts into what happens in January, February. And we'll talk about the number one thing that home sellers struggle with. It breaks down the top things that home sellers struggle with, and usually it comes down to something to do with price. So we have some amazing success stories. Our team's in absolutely crushing it, hustling through the holiday as well. And so we'll talk about that on today's show.
Just give me an update on just who Blake is. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Featuring Forbes, ABC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly, and a quick overview of how they work, right?
Absolutely. And it's the whole DNA behind the show and why do the show. And I think we'll be out next year, be 15 years on the station. And it just comes down to the biggest mistake that everyone makes with their largest asset. For most people, their largest asset is real estate. And so what they tend to do is they make this massive mistake of thinking that all the real estate agents are the same. That could not be any further from the truth. Just like any doctor and lawyer. And I made a promise a long time ago that I was going to keep talking about that every week until I don't really have these same experiences, same horror stories that we hear over and over and over again. And we talked about one recently, 2 weeks ago on the show, how somebody reached out to us, ended up going with a discount agent and underpriced their house. They priced it 71% of what it was actually worth, cost themselves $80,000+ in hard equity, sold it in one day, obviously, because they underpriced it by $80,000 plus. And so there's just so many nuances, and people tend to make the biggest mistakes because they ask the wrong questions. And I see this over and over. Been doing this 20 years next year. And it's one of those things that anytime somebody calls us for office or reaches out, they tend to always ask the wrong questions. And what it means is they tend to view real estate agents as the same. All they care about is how much you charge, which means they just group agents as one big commodity, which could not be any further than true. Just like any doctor and lawyer, like I mentioned, if you're charged with a crime you didn't commit, or someone is suing you for everything you own, the last thing you want is the cheapest attorney. Last thing you want is a part-time attorney. The last thing you want is somebody who recommended by a friend, but you don't really check them out or understand that what they specialize in that type of law, right? If you have that happen, I want the absolute best attorney who specializes in the type of law that I need, right? Criminal, civil, whatever it may be, and who has experience in that realm and who can really dominate that courtroom to help give me the competitive advantage I need to get the result at the end I desire, right? You should demand the same level of excellence when you're dealing with your largest asset, but for some reason, they just do a quick Google search or they just ask around and try to find the cheapest one, which is absolutely detrimental to your hard-earned equity. And most people spend 20, 30 years building hard-earned equity only to spend 15 minutes picking an agent, and they wipe out so much hard work there. And so if you take one thing from today's show, the single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period, nothing else. It comes down to how does the agent you choose execute from A to Z and get the property sold. What most people don't realize when you're selling a property, it's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, your property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly. Okay, they drop the ball at any point. And that could be things like, does the agent answer the telephone? If they do, do they respond to web leads? Do they do respond online? How long does it take them to respond? I've been looking to buy investment property in Florida recently, and it's crazy. I'll reach out to the agents and I let them know, hey, I'm a buyer, super, interested, and they don't even respond. I have to text them like 2 or 3 times. One time last week, I may have mentioned last week's show, I had to send like a Forrest Gump gift just to get them to respond, which is crazy. And it's just one of those things that you see this happen over and over and over again. I mean, the properties I'm looking at down there have 1 or 2 photos. They don't tell you the even if it's on the water or not, just crazy stuff that you constantly see. Meanwhile, the homeowners who have that property listed have no clue that the marketing's that bad, the agent's not responding. And they just think it's a pricing issue. And so what ends up happening when the agent you choose drops the ball is you have to adjust price and reduce your hard-earned equity, which means you walk away with less money in your pocket because of their lack of execution. So it's just a rampant problem in the entire industry. It doesn't happen because agents are bad or they have a nefarious kind of attitude. It's just they're just too busy juggling all the balls that they can't actually execute at a high level. And the reason is there's so many variables for one agent to execute. It's virtually impossible for them to do it on one listing, much less 5 or 10 or 15 listings, which seems to happen a lot. And so one thing I said, there's got to be a better way. The old school way where you have one agent who's juggling all the balls, like having the same person at McDonald's do the front register, the drive-thru, and the french fries at the same time. Very, very, very inefficient. And so what I did, I flipped that business model upside down. It's what got us featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, all that stuff. And I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells homes twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. We manage those with 2 main things: a large team of people, which we call a team of specialists. So if you look at most agents and how it was when I started at Coldwell Banker, my whole family sold real estate, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma. I grew up in the business, but everyone operated the same way. It's one single agent trying to juggle all the balls, meaning they're a generalist. And so if they're just generalizing everything, they're not really good at anything. And so what I did was we created a team of specialists where every single person specializes in that part of the transaction or what they do. We have buyer specialists, listing specialists, inside sales, outside sales. We have, graphic design, in-house photography, in-house videography, a listing coordinator, closing coordinator. So every single person can execute the variables that they own in the process at a high level. And so what we do is we stack the dominoes in favor of our client. If I can create a small gap at point 1, a small gap at point 2, and how well we execute, and you stack it up over 118 different variables, at the end, it creates a massive gap between us and everyone else. And that's how we give you, the client, a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And so the thing I designed is called the Guaranteed Sold System, like I mentioned. If you want to know more, reach out, call me. For buyers out there, it's still a very difficult scenario getting to that close table successfully. There's 100 plus variables in the buying process. One of those, like I mentioned, could be, does the agent respond to people online? Many people have called and text and reached out to on both their website, cell phone, and text. They barely respond. If they do, it takes days to get back. And especially, I'm learning kind of the same things that buyers here are experiencing, where I'm looking to buy something in a different state, and it's just overall the same exact thing that happens here happens in Florida as well, because one single agent cannot offer a high level of service unless they specialize in what they do. So I designed this thing called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gets you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as the home inspection negotiation to get you that close table success with the most amount of money in your pocket. And so you owe it to yourself to at least investigate it. The old school 8-track tape business model is dying, but for some reason, 90% of agents still operate the same old way like they did 30, 40 years ago, and they're not giving the highest level of service to our clients. And so we flipped upside down. We have an iPad Pro in terms of business model for our clients. And so we want to give that to you. Reach out, learn more, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime. So a quick break, right back in a second.
Here to give us more insight into this is my friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Those sorts of programs make it a lot easier for the seller. Which ones do you all have? Hey, Sean, in addition to our traditional program that sells your home for top dollar, we have an instant offer, a multi-offer, and a guaranteed offer program. I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars for right now. And what kind of return can you expect from them? Here's what I'll say. Every seller's needs are different. Some need maximum convenience, and we deliver that every single time. Some need the most amount of money, and we have a program for that as well. We have a trademark program that gives sellers up to 5 to 10% more money than traditional industry methods.
All right, great insight. Thank you for this update. All Blake Sloan today at 808 sold. That's 808 sold. Online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com. And consider your home sold.
Hi, I'm Barbara Morgan. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan. He told me really solution really reach that high level. He offers several options on home sellers, really takes away the stress.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. Does it sell like us a Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on good terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Radio Show. Brand new market update, all kind of stuff going on right now. Two types of numbers we always talk about every single week if you're a long-time listener. We talk about the windshield numbers. That's like what's happening in front of us so we can make real-time decisions for our clients. And you, as a consumer, can really make good decisions based on what's happening right now and really kind of what we call more of a pulse on the market. And that's what we look at, what went into contract the last 7 days. And it is very seasonal. Like you can see the holiday weeks a little bit slower. Non-holiday weeks is a little bit more. Summertime weeks is a little bit more, right around 225 million a week when under contract. And so I'll tell you, it's been holding on very, very, very good the last few weeks. And so that's the number we talk about a lot. And we also have the rear view mirror numbers, and that's what closed last month. That's what most of the industry uses. That's what the average agent uses. But the problem with that is if you use only that data, you're making decisions based on data. That's really 60 to 90 days old in some cases, at least 30 to 60 days old, because properties go into contract. They have the entire underwriting process, appraisals, inspections, all this stuff. And so you want to make sure you use a combination of both so I can look historically what's happening prices. Are they going up? Are they going down? And that's what actually closed. So you know it's not speculation. You can also look at what's going into contract to get a real calm feel on being more aggressive or less aggressive. Like right now, if I was listing, I'd be more aggressive in price, meaning I'd price a little bit higher because buyers are moving post-election, and you're seeing a lot more movement. And so that's what you want to do. But look in the last 7 days, 453 properties under contract for $171,296,000, which is really good. I talk about 200 million smoking, but anytime November, December, where you're anywhere close to that is really, really good. Last week's show was 472, 482 million. You add in the holiday where just people aren't working and looking at they're not looking at houses for the most part during Thanksgiving or either Black Friday. So what's happening is you'll see that run back through and be very, very close up to 500 in the next 7 days on next week's show. Some big time stuff happening. One property at $4.6 million under contract. That's on the dunes, right? Dunes Club around the ocean. So there's piano lots there. And so one road just closed right under $6 million as on the ocean front. This one's just one lot back, but it's still technically ocean front because it's a piano lot under contract, $4.6 million. A lot of movement in that area in the last 6 months. One property at $2.1 million. 13 properties are $1 million. 92 properties are $500,000. A lot of big money still coming to Myrtle Beach week after week after week, which is great news for home sellers here. Values continue to climb, which is good for the most part. Inventory has increased. Right now, active single-family homes in Horry County, 1,492. We're about to hit that 1,500 mark for the first time since we've been tracking on this show, since before COVID by a long way. Talking all the way back to 2016, 2017, since you've seen that many properties in the market. Last week's show was 1,479. Week before that, 1,446. And right now we're at 1,492. So you can see week after week after week, inventory is climbing, which means some properties are sitting longer. You want to make sure you have a good agent for that so your property doesn't sit longer. Or in many cases, right now, we're seeing almost 50% of properties that go on the market aren't selling within the 6-month period they're listed for, which is very, very interesting to see. And that's why the agent you choose matters, right? If you have a 50% chance of the property selling, which is not good, you want to make sure you mitigate that by getting a good agent, someone who can differentiate it and make a big, big difference for you there as well. So great news there. Overall, last week's show was 182 million. This week, 171. You take out 1 day for the holiday. Makes sense. We're on the same exact pace where we were last week's show, which is awesome. The closed numbers from last week, for last month, which is the rear view mirror numbers we talked about. Resale homes closed last month, up 14.9 year versus year. It is seasonal. So last October was basically, it's up 14% from last October, which is great. We have seen kind of a decline since May. May we kind of peaked out at 543 closed that month. This past month, 477. It did bounce up between September and October. September only had 426. October closed out 477. Next week's show, we'll have the final November numbers in, which is great. and I will be able to give you that as well. That last bump we saw between September and October came when rates got back down to the mid-low sixes, which is great. Everyone who was on the sidelines just watching jumped in, and that was some of that bumped up sales, which is great. Price is still holding pretty flat. They're really flat year over year for the most part. We kind of slight decline. So right now, median price is down 1.6% from the same time last year. Right now, median price $375,000 even for resale homes. Average price down 1.4% from the same time last year at $462,000. The one thing that does concern me a little bit, we've watched prices decline really every single month except May. From May this year, May we kind of peaked out at 520, 944. We've really gone down to 499, 476, 478, and then right now 462. And so significant decline there. Really, you're talking a $60,000 difference in terms of average sale price for the overall Grand Strand just since May. And so that's something we'll keep watching. The seasonality and the way it bounces around kind of does, throw some people off. But if you look at the trend, I like to look at 3 or 4 month trend to see what's happening. And it is slowly declining. I'm hoping once rates come down a little bit, you'll see that bump back up. One thing is really protecting price has been inventory. It's at 4.4 months of inventory right now, which is still technically a seller's market, meaning the seller has the advantage. There's more buyers than sellers. At any time there's less than 6 months of inventory. If it gets above 6 months of inventory, which is what just happened with condos, it becomes a buyer's market, meaning there's more sellers than buyers that are looking to buy, and that can be problematic for pricing going forward. Looking at showings per listing right now, the average listing in the entire MLS is getting 3.5 showings. And so if anybody lists on average with any company, any realtor gets an average of 3.5 showings total. It's down 12.5% from last year. The problem, though, is the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 13.5. So you can see you need almost 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get a contract. And so that's why most properties are sitting in the market. That's why sellers are very frustrated. That's why almost 50% of the properties that get listed are not selling. And that's why it's so important you choose an agent who knows what they're doing, who, number 2, has a massive marketing budget, who can differentiate your property so that people can actually see it, because it is a little bit more crowded out there than it has been historically. And that's something to watch overall. One thing I think surprising for a lot of people too is average days on market right now is 104 days. And so the average listing that gets sold takes 104 days to sell. And that's something that, is important to really kind of realize. If you want to get the average price and you want to do it in the average time everybody else does, you got to be a little bit patient right now with what's happening, because you can either get more money for it or sell it faster. What we're very good at is really kind of reverse engineering both of those numbers to find the absolute best middle number, where you can pick strategy behind price and also strategy behind marketing that allows us to move that needle a little bit and get the highest in the price range as well. Looking at condo sales have been getting crushed really lately, down 13% versus the same time last year. Some months we're seeing down 20%. Prices have been pretty good overall, though, which is great. Right now, median price up 6.2% at $293,000. Median price flat as last year, 0.0 change at $245,000 for condos as well. And the one thing that is really kind of alarming to watch has been inventory has continued to climb. And it's up to 7.1 months of inventory, a 69% increase from the same time last year. A lot more condos are on the market. A lot more condos are sitting on the market. And a lot to do with just different things. Insurance has been very difficult for these buildings. You're seeing a lot of special assessments. You're seeing HOAs increase. You're seeing a lot of stuff there kind of happen. But if you look at the average days on market for condos right now, it's 104 days for that. It was 127 days for September. And they're having the same exact problem there with showings. The average condo listing on the MLS gets 2.1 showings. That's from every company, every realtor. There's one single software that kind of tracks that for everyone. And the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 9.1. So you can see the problem there, 2.1 on average, but it takes 9.1 to get a contract. That's why you want to choose an agent who can get it differentiated, who takes great professional photography, who understands the order of the photos to get people to look at it. Because the only thing that you can really do as an agent, and something I share a lot, is I'm basically a marketer in the real estate business. And I can't really sell your property online. All I can do is differentiate it, and I can create more eyeballs on it. There's ways we do it with photos, the order of the photos, pictures 2, 3, and 4 to sell the buyer at looking at the rest of the photos, because they're searching by elimination. So your first showing for your property always happens online. And that's why the photos need to be great. The order needs to be great. The way it's organized needs to be great. And so that's something we help guide our clients on as well overall. And so you're going to keep watching that and see what happens. But with so much competition with condos, those small details make a massive, massive difference right now. One thing we'll keep watching to see what happens has been interest rates. Good news is we hit a 1 month low this last week. We were well into the sevens. I think last week's show was 7.04%. Right now we're at 6.92 for a 30-year fixed mortgage, which is awesome. A 15-year fixed, 6.12. A 30-year jumbo loan, 7.1%. A 30-year FHA back in the sixes, low sixes, which is awesome, 6.25. A 30-year VA, 6.25. And so those are getting very, very close to being back in the fives, which is awesome. We're in a very, very interest-driven marketplace right now where buyers are watching rates daily. As it gets back to a place where they feel comfortable, the numbers work out, you'll see them jump in. And so we're getting a lot of experts in the industry saying that about late December, January, you're going to probably see rates go back down. If you remember last year, the week before New Year's, rates dropped like crazy, almost a full point, and it lit the market on fire for January. And all those sellers who were prepared were able to take advantage of that. And you saw the market really light up January, February, March of last year. And so we'll keep watching that. I'll take a quick break right back here in a second. You always get any answers, any questions answered, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime.
Get the highest sales price possible for a home. Totally free play. If you're in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his guarantee. Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to or buy yourself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much you can buy your next home without worrying about being stuck with two more. There's simply no other agent in the market with a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So if you're looking to
I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
there is $755 Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing that Sloan Realty Group. And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m. Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaFox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm moving on one award for ACM Song of the Year, it's struck a chord with folks who understand the challenge that comes with life's big change. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why at Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group are the forerunners on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan at BlakeSloan.com or you can call him at 843-808. Start packing.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan Radio Show. Hot buyers, my team working the ridiculous amount of home buyers looking to buy properties here in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area, anywhere from $240,000 to $4.3 million. If you think about selling, call us immediately, 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we've been doing here for a long time, year after year after year, is putting our money where our mouth is. Most agents don't even really start marketing for your property until they put a sign on the ground. Then they start doing something. Most of them don't really have a budget to market with because the average agent only sells 4 homes a year. And so that's 1 per quarter. There's not much money to eat with, much less spending marketing to get your house differentiated. And that's why really the agent you choose matters so much. And so one thing we've been doing, we have a very, very unique business model that allows us to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. If I ever get the question of like, hey, look, what makes you different than anyone else? This is the thing, because I really was able to create a business model with our team of specialists. We have about 25 buyers agents all day long, every day. They just work and follow up buyers. They make about 16,000 phone calls per week on average. We have a system, obviously, they log the calls and make phone calls through. And we average between 14 to 16,000 calls a week. But to do that, they have to have leads to call. And so for us to do that, we spend right about 6 figures a month, $95,000 a month, the last couple months in marketing, getting buyers and sellers from all across the globe. And so we have what we call buyers in waiting. So by the time you pick up the phone to call us, we have tens and tens of thousands of buyers who look in properties similar to yours that we're able to match them up with. And so right now, active home buyers, we have 78,618 active home buyers and 78,000 618 active home buyers from all over. Obviously, the big money coming here comes from the Northeast, different areas. We target them intentionally online based on their IP address. But right now, I got Mitch from Huntley, Illinois. I got Lee Zhang from Woburn, Massachusetts. I got Philadelphia, PA, Los Angeles, California, Petersburg, Virginia, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Danville, Virginia, Hinsdale, Illinois, Brooklyn, New York, Clark, New Jersey, Anderson, Indiana, Brooklyn, New York, White Plains, New York, San Francisco, California, Odenton, Maryland. So all over we have buyers in waiting. So one thing we do is we have a software that takes any new listing, aka your house, and the minute we get it listed, the first thing we do is go to our buyer pool, because I'm in business to make money, right? So if we get both sides of the commission, it's more profitable for us. And that's what you hired us to do, is actually sell it, not just put it on MLS and pray someone else brings a buyer. And so we do that. Our team reaches out, makes phone calls, we match them up. And so they're incentivized to do so. We're incentivized to do so. And so it's a win-win for both the consumer and also us. But those tens of thousands of buyers are already waiting, looking for something similar to yours. And so that's the biggest advantage we have. We outspend everyone else by hundreds to one, because we're much more efficient in our business model and our follow-up. And so if you're thinking about selling, or anyone you come across during these holidays this next month or so that thinks about selling, that may mention like it, if you like them, don't like them, friend, relative, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, whoever it is, say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake, 843-808-SOLD. Save me in your phone, because the agent they choose matters. And that's one thing that's super, super important to take into account right now. Overall, really quick, couple quick success stories. Kathy, she's been in the Myrtle Beach area for a number of years. She continues to get a little bit up there and understands the importance of being closer to her family who lives up north, to be able to help her if she ever needs to be in the future. She didn't want to go to the house of updating her house, making repairs and small things throughout the property. She wanted an easy way to get her property sold, to be closer to her family. Kathy spoke with a few investors, but quickly realized they're only paying 50 cents in the dollar. Well, the cool part, Kathy's one of her good neighbors recommended us at Sloan Group. We came in with Kathy. We had hundreds of buyers looking at properties just like hers. She were able to sell it for top dollar without her making any repairs. It's called As Is. I designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough. Within 3 days, had a fantastic offer on her property for more than she even thought possible to sell for. And the best part, she'd make any repairs to the property. Now she can move back up north to be closer to her family, and that's an awesome situation we're very proud of. Also, Lori recently purchased a house in Conway, but after a year, she realized that she wanted to be back closer to family back home. Her major concern was getting the most amount of money for the property, because she had just bought it a year ago and prices haven't gone up that much. Thankfully, our friend recommended Sloan Realty Group to her. We got in touch with her and showed her we had hundreds of buyers looking at properties just like hers, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic. Within 2 weeks, had a fantastic offer in her home. Now she can move back closer to family and not lose money on the house, which is awesome. And so that's why the agent you choose matters so much. Most people who bought a year ago or so are to a place where once they pay closing costs and things like that, they're in negative equity, which we were able to overcome with her. So really quick, 2 minutes. I think one thing I get is this question all the time. It's a national article. It says, with the holidays right around the corner, homeowners planning to move have a decision to make. Do I sell now or wait? Some wait to put their house in the market in spring, but it basically says because of that, your house probably won't stand out in spring because everyone else waits that same exact time. And so it just breaks down all these things about why it's really an advantage to sell during the holidays. And it says typically there's less inventory in the housing market this time of year, allowing your home to easily stand out among the available inventory. And also there's a lot of serious buyers. Reason number one, serious buyers are looking right now. The holiday season doesn't put a pause on the desire to own a home. People moving, they all tend to have a deadline by the first of the year. We also have some of the biggest volume months because people have to close on investment properties by the end of the year. Number two, right? You have an inventory edge, meaning there's less homes for sale. 3, you always have control of the showings, meaning if you don't want to show it, you got family in town, you just block it out, which is awesome. But here's the part. Number 4, holiday decor can make your house shine. I always say this, the most emotional purchase anyone makes is their home. Well, guess what the most emotional time of the year is for anyone? That's the holidays. And so you match it up. It's a perfect match. We have people look at homes in July, and what they're doing is they visualize where the Christmas tree is going to go, where their family is going to be, where they're entertained. And so if you're thinking about selling, I would suggest getting a jump start with interest rates going back down, it being a very emotional time. If you have any questions, reach out, call us, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. Anytime. We'll see you back here same time next week.